Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Roswell Jan Garcia Amora. I am here to report Lesson 3, Collecting, Marking, Tagging, and Preserving Evidence in Chapter 3. Collecting physical evidence. All items that were found in the crime should be collected. On the proper actions to be done on the specific kinds of evidence found in the scene or irrelevant. Small pieces of evidence also must be given importance, thus collecting them is necessary. So, in collecting physical evidence, even a small parts of evidence can be lethal or useful for provoking or presenting some ideas or evidence so that it can be testified if the person is committing a crime or not. And one of those is blood. It is important evidence in homicide, assaults, robberies, and other cases where it may be spilled. It is categorized into major groups of A, B, and O depending on the condition of the stain. Those major groups in blood are called blood type of a human. Number 2, hair. This may be found anywhere in the crime scene. It is often on the clothing of the victim and suspects who have come into physical contact with each other. It can be very important evidence, especially in rape cases. In most cases, there are rarely enough samples represent to positive identification of an individual. However, it can be determined if the hair of animal or human, whether the hair of or dyed or bleached, if the hair is from the head or body, as well as the rational origin of the hair. Number 3, firearm scrapping, fingernail scrapping. In cases where physical contact has been made, fingernail scrapping should be obtained. Rape cases or assault cases are good examples of cases where the fingernail scrapping may be important. Items sometimes found under fingernails include fibers, hair, and skin which may be type for its blood group. Number 4, fiber. It is excellent as tracing evidence when clothing cross-contamination takes place. This is also important evidence in robbery and hit and run cases. Fiber may be found on clothing snag or projection and even embedded with vehicle paint. Examination of fiber determines whether it is a natural or synthetic material. The color and dye used, it may be physical match if the fragments was turned from clothing. Threads may be examined to determine twist, number of strands, and cloth waves. Number 5, glass. It can be an important evidence in robberies and hit and run cases. It can be found as a trace of evidence in clothing and shoes. Glass is usually examined to determine if the both evidence samples and the known standard has the same physical properties and trace elements in impurities. Additional examination can be made to determine from which side force was applied. Glass broken by fire shows different patterns because the breaking induced by difference in expansion of glass. Physical match of glass from the crime scene to glass found in the suspect's position is good possibility. Number 6, firearm. Our bullet, shotgun pellet, and wad, explosive residue, and gunpowder patterns can provide vital evidence and specific answer to possible questions in the case. Number 7, bullet. It can be provided information about the make and the type of ammunition and weapon from which bullet was fired, and whether it is not fired from a specific weapon, provided the weapon is available for test purposes. Cartridge cases. This can also provide vital information as the type of weapon used, the type of ammunition, and whether it is not case was fired in a specific weapon. If weapon is available upon fire testing. Number 9. Seminal stain. It is often but not always found on clothing, blankets, sheets. It also a biological evidence like blood. It must be collected properly to maintain its integrity. B. Marking of physical evidence. As evidence is collected, it is individual marked with the initial of investigator. The marking tool depends upon the nature of the evidence. It is hand objects such as metals and initials are scratched or engraved by use of sharp pointed steel called stylus. Marking of firearms related evidence. Number 1. Revolver. It must be marked separately on the barrel, frame, butt, cylinder, and stock. The tape should also be put around the bore and the frame of the gun with signature of the investigator. Number 2. Pistols. It must be marked on the barrel, but magazine and stocks. Tape must be also be put around the gun with signature to avoid changing parts of the gun that may be affected the results of laboratory examination. Number 3. Rifle. Rifle. It should be marked on the barrel, frame, magazine, bolt, or slide, and all magazines and accessories shall also be marked. Number 7. Fire empty shells and misfired cartridge. It must be marked near in the mouth of the fired empty shells, not on the body, peripheral, surface, or base. Number 5. Bullet, slug, balls, pellets. A bullet or slug can be marked on the ogive or nose, as well as in the base, not on the body of bearing surface. Number 6. Letter C. Tagging evidence. All evidence which by their nature could not be marked on each surface, such as blood, hairs, fiber, and like, are properly in an appropriate container. After which, the container must be put in. Tagging of the physical evidence is being done with the use of card where the initial of the ammunition investigator, date, and time of collection, specific case, and other information are written. D. Preserving physical evidence. Perishable material should be preserved along the way of preservation is in order to reach the court if in the same physical condition as when they are collected from the crime scene. This is the work of laboratory technician or SOCO team. It includes number 1. Preservation of tool marks. Number 2. Preservation of controlled substance and medical preparation. Number 3. Preservation of questioned documents. Number 4. Preservation of latent fingerprints. The 3 types of fingerprints that can be found in the crime scene. Number 1. Latent fingerprints are made of the sweat and oil of the skin surface. This type of fingerprints is invisible to the naked eye and requires additional processing in order to be seen. This processing can include basic powder techniques or the use of chemicals. So, ang latent fingerprints it cannot be used by our eye, but it can be used kaning dili na to siya makitaan based sa atong mata, pero kinahanglan nato maggamit og chemicals so that we can see it, or it can be visible. Number 2. Patent fingerprints can be made by blood, greasy, ink, or dirt. These types of fingerprints is easily visible to the human eye. Number 3. Plastic fingerprints are 3-dimensional impressions and can be made by pressing your fingerprint in fresh paint, wax, soap, or tar. Like patent fingerprints, plastic fingerprints are easily be seen by the human eye and do not require additional processing for visibility purposes.